Hello there.
Hey, is my mic coming through?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Excellent.
All right. It's always a bit of a coin toss, but I seem to be live and haven't muted my mic this time, and everything is good. So, why don't you go ahead and
Awesome.
introduce yourself while I start playing the game here for a moment?
Cool. Yeah. So my name's Zach. I made this game for the GMTK Jam, and I I'm a games master's degree student at UC Santa Cruz. I just graduated. So I've been making games for a good bit, and this is the most recent one.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I've got to keep the tab volume muted because both the Discord audio and the game audio are coming out of the same web browser, and I don't have independent volume control. It's a bit too loud, but I would recommend everyone check it out because the music really adds a lot to the experience. It's very well chosen background music. Actually, is it chosen or did you get it composed for the game?
I went and found it online. It was not easy to find it. I spent like hours just listening to a bunch of different tracks, trying to figure out one that like I felt fit the best. So yeah, it wasn't made for this, but I tried my best to find something that would fit as best it could, and I think it turned out pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are some good old BFXR sound effects, I assume?
Oh yeah, definitely.
For anyone who is somehow not aware, BFXR is a fantastic retro sound effect creator. Super worth checking out. It's just a free online tool. You can find it BFXR. If you just Google that, you'll come across it no problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would absolutely recommend getting the full experience. You can see the link to the game is there on screen, and I'll post it in chat towards the end. So I guess moving right along, how did you decide on this idea for the game jam?
Right. So going into the game jam, I wanted to try to do something, if I could, that involved a good amount of level design because I wanted to like practice that. And so that kind of made me sort of inclined to make a puzzle platformer. Of course, this is before I even knew what the theme was, so I wasn't sure if this was going to work or if I could even do that. But once the theme was announced, just spent like 2.5 hours or something brainstorming, just thinking of any idea and writing it down, and thinking about the theme and thinking about the nature of control and other weird things. And for whatever reason, I started thinking about the Edward Norton Hulk movie because like that whole movie's all about control. And so I was like, what if your character just like spontaneously explodes or does something in a way that you don't have control over? And I was like, okay, that's interesting. How do I make that not annoying? Because if it's just random, that's not very fun, generally. And so I was like, what if it's on like a timer? Okay. And so then like on a timer, your character would like blow up and it would blow up blocks nearby and you'd like respawn and do something like that. But that felt weird for some reason. And then I thought of, I don't know how this came into my head, but I thought of the rock power up from Kirby.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I like this power. What can we do with this? And then it started as that, and I was like, okay, let's just try building something. So I started building it, and it wasn't until I got like the rock working on a timer that I was like, what if I just put all the other stuff on a timer at some point as well? And then that started working out really well, and I was like, okay, I think we've got something here. That was kind of the process.
Yeah, I would say the what people might. Oh no, I did play the game the whole way through, and I would encourage others not to skip any of the levels. Well, not that you can, like you don't have controls to skip the level, right?
No, you don't. I really should. I probably should have put those in, but I didn't. They're not in there. So you gotta go through the whole thing.
Well, yes and no, because I would say in your level design, you've done a great job of tutorializing the mechanics. And I would say that if someone were to skip a particular level, it would probably be to their detriment, because you have to sort of learn the mechanics from one level before you move on to the next. So I would say it's totally justifiable that there isn't a skip level feature in the game.
Yeah, that's true. I tried to make it so that like every level wasn't just kind of, there was a point to each one of the levels. They're trying to like show you some interesting outcome or facet of this really weird control scheme.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that turned out as well as it did.
Yeah, I like the fact that your turning into a rock is mostly an impediment throughout the game, but eventually it becomes something that is serves a utility as an actual purpose. So I don't know if this is the way you're supposed to beat this level, but I remember kind of cheesing it so that I could like break. I've been able to break that top rock without breaking the bottom one before, and then give myself a little extra. I swear I would trigger the rock power up and just move at the exact same time. Otherwise, it's very tricky.
So that you don't have to do that to complete it. That's like not the way it was intended. But if that works, I mean, that's even better. It's just an alternate solution. The player can approach problems in any way that they see fit. And I think that's a good. It doesn't break anything, so I'm pleased with that. Hey, nice. See, I've never done that. Never done it that way.
But so here we're moving on to a more advanced part of the game where you can see now being able to stop at will is useful, something you have to make use of, and I can see like really tightly constructed so that that's the case. My brain was already breaking trying to play this when I wasn't streaming, so I'm probably not going to get any further if I want to maintain the ability to speak. But let me go ahead and ask my next question, which was, what was your development process for actually putting this game together?
Okay, so I did the game jam last year as well, and when someone asked me like how it worked, or like what I did that last year, it was like a fever dream, so I couldn't remember any of it. This was all crazy. So this year I was like, I'm going to try to write down kind of the order in which I'm doing things just so I remember, because it's a very hectic 48 hours now.
Yeah.
So I did like the brainstorming, and then after brainstorming I like started building, and I just tried to get the basic platforming to feel relatively okay. And that took a lot longer than I wanted it to, because a lot of little things, but eventually got there. And then this was on Friday, and then at the end of Friday, I just wanted to get like a proof of concept of the timer thing working. And then it worked, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go to sleep, because I don't imagine I'll go to sleep that much on Saturday night, which was the case. So I woke up, and then I like fully implemented the timer where you could do everything with it. And then from there, this was all with like terrible art, like just black and white boxes, and it looked terrible.
That's a great box, right?
But it worked. Yeah, but it worked, which was the important part. And so then from there, I was like, well, let's just try to make some levels. So I made like 12 levels, and tried to like order them in terms of which ones made sense where. And then from there, I have to thank my brother, because I sent him a build and I was like, can you play this terrible looking game and let me know what you think? And I got some nice feedback from him, which was very helpful. And then from there, I was like, okay, this game can't look like garbage forever. I have to actually make the art for it. So I sat down and tried to do all the pixel art, because I'm not the best artist. So I was like, I'm just going to do like 2-bit pixel art with 2 colors. Like having that many constraints helps make it take less time to make the art. So I went ahead and did that. And then at this point, this is like Sunday morning in the like 2 a.m. I had to like completely overhaul the UI to get like the big clock that you see in the background now.
Yeah.
Because before it was a bunch of like little clocks in the corner that were timing each one of them separately, and it was annoying because you had to like keep moving your eyes back and forth. And I was like, I'm just gonna put it as big as possible in the center of the screen so you can almost always see it.
Yeah.
Because I was getting annoyed having to move my eyes back and forth. And so I was like, okay, let's just throw it on the background. That'll make so there's something happening in the background, and that'll be interesting. And I was like, well, if the rest of the game's black and white, maybe it'll have some color, so it'll like pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that ended up working out reasonably. And then I was like, all right, now I need to get audio. So I like made the sound effects and found the music, put those in, which took a lot longer than I wanted to, just because I was looking through a bunch of different songs, but definitely found something I liked. And then I had to figure out what the game title should be. Because at this point, this was still like some game, and I didn't know what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
So I eventually decided on the weird name after a bunch of different failed attempts. And then I had like an hour and a half before the due date, and I was like, all right, let's just make as many more levels as I possibly can. So I made like another 18 levels.
Wow, in the last hour and a half?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's ridiculous.
Or maybe like 2 hours. Yeah. But I had like all the framework in.
Yeah.
So like once like all the systems were there, so I could just easily like plug in values, move blocks, and there's like, all right, cool, this is a level. All right, cool, whatever, move this is a level. And then I had like a few minutes to submit it, and then I did. And Itch was lagging a little bit, so if you actually look on the Itch submission page for it, it says 6 seconds before the deadline. Yeah, that was.
Oh my god.
A little close for comfort, but we got there.
I had someone on stream earlier who was saying like, oh yeah, I submitted 6 minutes beforehand. I'm like, I think there's someone else coming later today who's got you beat. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just glad I got it, and it was because I was all set, but then like it started slowing down a little bit right before.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no.
Yeah. I think there would have been a grace period if anything had gone wrong, but yeah, I think, it's pretty obvious if you've been watching me, my brain has sort of reached the limit of like this level took me so long when I was playing it legitimately, but on stream, I'm just not going to be able to complete this. So if we want better footage of the game, maybe I'll just refresh the tab and I'll play again from the beginning. But I do really like the gameplay. Like for its simplicity, it's great. I think it's a great execution of the theme. I think the character art ended up being cute, like simple, but it totally works. You've got unique jump, fall, left, right, you know what I mean, side to side, and then walking animation. Like it works. It's nothing more than it needs to be. And yeah. Would you say there's any particularly like clever hack or shortcut that you needed to use to get the game working in time?
So the only thing I can really think of was that I made this in Unity, and there's basically a big God script game manager that's handling way too many things. That's probably the biggest. Basically, there's the character script, and then there's the game manager, which is handling like everything else.
Yeah.
What's the timer and what the UI is looking like, what level you're on, all the audio, like everything. So obviously that's not the best, but it works, and that was the important part.
You can't argue with results.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't the best way to do it, but it's a way to do it that will work, so I'm going with it.
Absolutely. Was there anything that you needed to cut or change in order to finish the game on time?
There was the thing that I like had on my to-do list that I didn't get to like check off at the end was I wanted a stage select, but that didn't end up happening. And so that was like that was the big thing that I really wanted to try to do that I had no time to do. Beyond that, there was just like I just kept coming up with a bunch of different level concepts. Like for example, in the whole game, there are only two different kinds of blocks. There's like the regular ones and the ones you can break.
Yeah.
Like there's only 4 things in the whole game. There's like the blocks you can break, the blocks you can't, the character, and then the flag at the end. That's it.
Yeah.
I could have put any. If I add in like just one more block, there's a bunch of different stuff that can happen. Like a block that fades when you jump from it, or something you can jump through. Like buttons and switches and doors, all this other stuff. That I was like, this would be so cool. There's so many things you could do with it. But I was like, but that involves making more things, and that's going to take even more time. And I even had like the idea of maybe there's like a little coin or something in the level where when you get it, it gives you the ability to use a thing again. Like maybe you don't have the rock, but you jump and you get like the rock coin, and then suddenly you can use the rock again. I was like, that would be cool. And I was just like, all these different level design ideas kept coming to me, and I was like, okay, I don't have time to do any of these, but these are really cool. And then I thought for like a hot second about having branching levels, and I was like, okay, no, this is going to jump out of scope way too quickly.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I suggested on the Itchio page was the idea of having a button you could hold down to accelerate the game pace, because at least as it's built right now, I don't think that would interfere with the challenge, but it would mean that there's less standing and waiting for what's to happen next.
Yeah, so I did not even think of that until you mentioned it, and I'm like, that is such a brilliant and perfect idea. I don't know why I didn't do that, because it like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't break anything. It just cuts down on waiting. And it's not even hard to do. I was like, that's such a great idea. I should totally do that.
Oh, cool. I mean, are there any other, like, is there any other good feedback that you got? Any other comments of like stuff you want to add to the game?
I mean, in general, the feedback that I've gotten is like super, super nice. Like honestly, it's so awesome just being able to read people that, you know, like enjoyed the game and then enjoyed it enough to feel like they should tell me about that. Just feels awesome. Like a lot of people really have been enjoying the levels, because they at least tried to sort of explain what's going on, like how you can go about doing things. Because I didn't want to have to write a tutorial, because those aren't fun to write and they're not fun to like play. So I was like, let's just let the levels do the teaching, and then I can have more levels.
Yeah, I mean that's really the best way to do it.
Yeah, if you can get away with it, which I tried to get to, and then a lot of people just been very, very nice. But yeah, definitely the like speeding up the timer, so you can cut down on waiting is. Feel like that's like the easiest thing that I totally should have done. There's also a number of people said like, I wish the music like fit with the timer, which is something I totally wanted. But I knew that I couldn't. There's no way that I could like do that, because I'm not a very good musician by any means, and so I wouldn't be able to like make music. Yeah, I couldn't do everything. So I was like, okay, we're gonna have to settle with music that doesn't quite fit. And I think that's okay, but I would totally like to have it that way, where the music fits better with the timer, so it feels more rhythmic. Yeah, I know that helps people get in the zone.
Yeah, I paused here so you could see what I was talking about, but I did manage to break one block, but not the one underneath it somehow. So
How did you do that?
I stood right on the edge of the block, and I gave myself a slight movement impulse as the ground pound kicked in, because then you like break the block, but you still have a tiny bit of momentum, so you don't break the one underneath it. Anyway, I saw somebody break my game in a pretty hilarious way on stream as well. It's just, this is what happens when you put the game in someone else's hands. They do something crazy that you don't expect, because they don't know the actual intended solution for the level. So they just try something and oops, it turns out this is viable.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it over to the chat. If there's anyone who has any questions they want to ask, please submit them now. And in the meantime, perhaps you can tell me what are your plans for the game going forward?
That is a very good question. The short answer is I'm not sure. The more long-winded answer is obviously there's a bunch of things that I feel like I can do that can be done to this, that little tweaks and things to make it better, and part of me wants to fix those things, but another part of me is not sure if it's worth going down that whole rabbit hole again. But I mean, honestly, I did have a lot of fun working on this, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm still sort of waiting to see sort of more people's feedback, because I think there's something here, but I don't want to be the only person thinking that there's something here, because obviously I like people to play it and enjoy it.
Well, I think it's a great implementation of the theme. I think it's just a great game overall. I played all the way to the end. Not if I'm going to be able to make it here on stream right now, but we do have one question from the chat. What's it like as a dev watching people break your game in unexpected or unintended ways?
Okay. I feel like you can talk about this as well, but like my 2 cents on it is, most of the time it's really awesome. Unless they completely break like what you wanted it to be. Like if you wanted it to be like a horror game and everyone's just like completely laughing at it or something, you're just like, okay, that's not quite what I was going for. But most of the time it's really awesome, like seeing people come up with solutions that you had never thought of for different things. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Like, as long as the gameplay is not being subverted in a way that actually detracts from the fun, then what's the harm, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining me for this interview today. I've got to kind of wrap things up so I can move on to our next scheduled guest. But everybody, please check this game out. I'm going to throw the link to it in the chat so that everyone can play it themselves, experience the sound effects, the music. Is there any shout outs you want to give? Where can people find you on social media, etc.?
So I want to shout out and thank my brother for the sole play tester that helped make this game less of a pain to play. So he was like, yeah, part of it's a little bit annoying. You should tweak some things. And I was like, all right, I got it. And then if you want to find me, obviously give me a follow on Itch. I'm going to just drop my Twitter in the chat. You can follow me there.
Go ahead.
Post game stuff there. I think that's about all for me. Thanks so much for organizing this whole thing. This has been really cool.
Thank you. I hope I'm going to be posting these interviews later so that they're not just on Twitch. So we'll have them forever and people can look back and see some of these insights. But thanks so much for coming on. Great.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the interviews.
Yeah. Cheers. Talk to you later.
All right. See ya.
Bye.